owned Mercedes-Benz dealership in Johannesburg.
Africa Report on Sabahul Muslim.
For this week's Africa Report, we are joined on the line by Saeed Abdullah, a Sudanese journalist based in Johannesburg. Saeed, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome.
Oh, alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for having me.
So, UN human rights investigators have warned Sudanese civilians are paying the highest price. They're talking about a war of atrocities.
The UN has released a damning report on Sudan's war, describing it as a war of atrocities, where civilians are paying the highest price. Investigators found both Sudanese army and the Rapid Support Forces guilty of large-scale attacks on civilians, hospitals, and critical infrastructure, clear violation of international law. So the report documents executions, torture, and widespread sexual violence, particularly against women and children, while over 12 million people have been displaced in what the UN calls the world's fastest growing displacement crisis. In Darfur, the RSF deliberately targeted non-Arab communities, while the army's attacks forced further mass flight. Humanitarian workers, that's working with the international organizations, have also come under fire, with more than 80 killed since the war began, and 8 operations reportedly blocked as well. So the UN investigators are urging justice through the International Criminal Court, an arms embargo, and strong international pressure. They also highlighted local civil society initiatives that are trying to preserve human rights in the middle of the war. So the warning is clear. If the world fails to act, it won't only be betraying the Sudanese people, but also the foundation of international law.
So, a staggering 30 million people are in need now as the war grinds on.
Yeah, the UN says Sudan is facing one of the world's worst humanitarian crises, with nearly 30 million people in urgent need of assistance as the war between the army and the RSF militias grinds on. OCHA's director of operations, who just returned from Sudan and Chad, described entire cities under siege, homes and hospitals destroyed, and famine conditions spreading. He said Al-Fashir in Darfur has been besieged for 500 days, now hit by both shelling and deadly cholera outbreak, while 8 convoys are struck waiting to enter. Khartoum, which is in the middle of the country, the capital, once a vibrant capital, as we know, is now ghost town, is scarred by war, though some residents are trying to restore their daily life. So this is only these two main cities, but across Sudan, nearly 700,000 people are already in catastrophic food insecurity. So for example, they praise Chad for keeping its border open and serving as a lifeline for aid, but stressed that access is slow and costly to come from Chad to Sudan. And what she said also, she appealed for more funding, just 55 cents per person per day, and called on the warring parties to silence their guns so humanitarian workers can reach to those in need. Her message was blunt: even after the war ends, recovery for Sudanese families will take years, and the world must not look away.
Now, in Darfur, there's been a landslide that has killed 1,000. That's Sudan's deadliest disaster.
Yeah, that was a sad day for Darfur. A catastrophic landslide struck Tersin, which is a village in Jabal Marra mountains of Darfur, and that was last week. Reportedly killed more than 1,000 people, with only one survivor. So the rebel group that are in control of the area say that the village was completely destroyed by the landslide, and they were urgently appealing for international aid to recover bodies and assist survivors. And so the tragedy compounds Sudan's ongoing humanitarian nightmare caused by the war, exacerbated by as I said, by the prolonged heavy rain as well, and the war related displacement around the area, and severely limited access for relief organizations. An already dire situation has now become even more urgent, and immediate international response is essential for that area.
And then Sudan's war has also devastated farming, and that's pushing millions now into famine.
Yeah, the United Nations warned that 24.6 million Sudanese now face severe food insecurity, with over 600,000 enduring famine-like conditions. The World Health Organization has confirmed famine in parts of the country. Once the backbone of Sudan's economy, agriculture, has been devastated by the war. Irrigation system and farmland have been destroyed. Workers forced to flee, and key grain producing regions, including the vast Al Jazeera scheme, left in ruins. Local authorities estimate damages at up to $20 billion at this stage. Although fighting in Al Jazeera has eased, which is also in the center or in the middle of the country, and some families are returning to that farming areas, recovery is still painfully slow, and reservoir and irrigation remain broken, and farmers cannot restart production. Residents describe desperate conditions with no food, no money, and even drinking water is scarce. Sudan, once Africa's bread, what they call the bread basket, is now on the brink of a hunger catastrophe without urgent aid and investment in recovery.
All right, Saeed, shukran so much for your time and for chatting to us. We really appreciate it.
Jazakallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. That was Saeed Abdullah, a Sudanese journalist based